Hi, everybody. It's your podcast sister, Lisa, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio. If you like to discover new music, then you've come to the right place. This is where you'll meet singers, songwriters, and musicians who are living the dream and talking about it on Podcast Sister. On today's show, I will be interviewing the talented country rocker, Will Wesley, who'll be talking about his music career, as well as his new hit single and video, 12 O'Clock in Texas. So stay tuned and let's talk music. Welcome, Will, and thanks for joining me on today's podcast.
Hey, it's great to be here, and I appreciate you having me on the show.
My pleasure. So we're just going to dive right in. And I understand you've been in the music industry, Will, since you were a teenager. And from what I understand, you were a little bit rebellious back in the day growing up in Louisiana and turned to music as an outlet. But when did you decide and know that you wanted to start playing and making music for a career?
You know, it started very young, like you said, with me. My father was a musician, and he would work his day job at the plants and come home and play music at night, and that's kind of where the bug bit me. And starting off more rebellious, I always used the word rebellion as a way of just saying I did things the way I wanted to do them.
I can
and
relate.
I always just wanted to do things my way, and music was an outlet for me to do that because music has no rules, it has no barriers, it has no boundaries, so you can really be the artist that you are and make your own way. And that just appealed to my young nature, I suppose. And it's funny, I know a lot of people in life, they find out what they want to do young, they find out what they want to do older. But with me, it really did come younger. It seemed like the minute I got the guitar in my hands, I realized this is what I want to do. This is all I want to do. And I've just continued to do it all these years because it makes me happy.
Yeah, and you do it well. So when you were young and you were starting off your musical career, at that time, what piece of advice did another musician give you that really has stuck with you to this day?
You know, I've had the pleasure and I've been blessed to meet a lot of good musicians, fantastic musicians, and musicians who have made it, you know, to a high level. But, I go back to my father because he was also a musician who never got discovered. And one of the things that he always told me as a kid is you got to follow your dreams, whatever that dream may come. Basically, my dad knew from an early age that I was going to have a rough road in music because, let's be honest, you come up kind of middle class to poor, you don't have a lot of options. And for you to go down the music route without backing and without people who are going to put you to that next level, you're going to have to love what you do, and you're going to have to grow some real thick skin, and you're going to have to stay true to yourself, and you're going to have to build your own road. My father seemed to know that as a young age, and the best advice he gave me is you got to follow your dream no matter what. Whatever may come, you have to continue to follow it. Dark days that come, sunny days that come, but you got to take it all in stride and just be yourself and keep following your dreams.
That's beautiful. You're lucky to have a dad like that. Not everybody does.
It's funny. I remember my father getting a lot of flack from that when I was a kid because, the American dream, the American way is, go to school, go to college, get your degree, go to work, spend the rest of your life paying back a degree and then paying off house loans and whatever. My father he was different in that sense that he allowed me to do what I want to do. He said, look, if you want to do this, do it, but understand it's not going to come easy, and you're not going to get a free ride. And I as an older man look back on that and I really admire the fact because he came under a lot of pressure from his friends and people for letting me pursue music wholeheartedly instead of worrying about degrees and college and all this other stuff. He said, look, you need to do what you love to do, and I'm still doing it.
Yeah. That's terrific. And speaking of hard work, let's kind of fast forward now to today and talk about your music and songwriting over the past 6 months. Well, you have been extremely busy in the recording studio. You've released you've released 3 singles in the last 6 months, which are
Yes.
Honky Tonk USA, Time's Catching Up to Me, and 12 o'clock in Texas.
Yes.
And I want to first talk about your latest single, 12 o'clock in Texas. And tell us about this song and what it means to you.
Well, 12 o'clock in Texas has been shrouded in mystery since we announced its release. A lot of people have asked, what is it about? What is the purpose behind it? A lot of hype got behind the song because all you see in the artwork is a guy with a Texas flag painted on his face and he's looking down. It doesn't explain anything. And we purposely did that on the team. We didn't want to fully release the full details of what was going to happen until I did interviews and talked about it. And the reason for that is because 12 o'clock in Texas is by far my most personal body of work. It's a true story. And it's the first song that I've ever written that works in collaboration with the music video. And I'll explain. My brother Daniel and me were very, very close as kids, very tight. And, we grew up in Baker, Louisiana. And Daniel was an exceptionally bright kid. He excelled in everything he did. He just was incredibly intelligent. But as the years went on, one brother went into music, another brother went into computer programming. And Daniel got hooked on heroin.
Mm.
And I watched a brother that mentored me as a kid go from making $300,000 a year being a computer programmer to literally falling so bad he's asking to borrow money from me to buy cigarettes.
Mm.
And it got so bad that I ended up trying to help him. He went to jail several times. And the last time he got out of jail was when things really became, in a strange way, very close between us. He came to me and said he didn't have nowhere else to go. He had no help. So he started roadieing for, the Will Wesley band. He started going on the road with me and helping us unload equipment. And we became very close. We were always close as brothers, but we became close in a way we never had been.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept trying to help Daniel to get off of heroin, to get off of drugs. And eventually it culminated with me taking him to rehab out in Marksville, Louisiana. And I dropped him off in a rehabilitation center. And I'm very candid about the honesty of this. I'm giving you this story. I hope I'm not talking too much, but
No, this is important.
I want to help people. And I'm going to show you the ugly and the bright of this situation. And I promise you there's not a lot of bright. But when I brought Daniel to rehab, he stayed a month. And he got out and he was clean, he was sober, he was better than I'd ever seen him. He had really gotten his life together. But he had one fear hanging over him, that his past was gonna catch him and he was gonna be brought back to jail. And he expressed this to me very much on the road, that he was concerned about going back to jail, and he thought that if he could just show the courts this sobriety coin, showing that he put in the time, that they would allow him to get off on, not time well served, but just cut him a break.
Mm-hmm.
And from this, he presented that, and they just literally threw the coin back on the table, and they said, you're going to go back to jail.
Mm.
And literally he overdosed 2 days later.
Oh,
He fell off of the wagon, and I was on a show, and they told me that Daniel had overdosed in a hotel room.
I'm so sorry.
And well, thank you so much. Well, where the song ended up coming to birth was a week after. A lot of people have asked me, why 12 o'clock in Texas when you and your brother grew up in Louisiana? Well, there's a very poignant reason for that. And it's because when I got the word that Daniel had overdosed, my father had called me. And I did not know how to handle it. I literally took my guitar and slung it across the room on a live performance and stormed off. And the crowd knew something was wrong, and I had to get out of this building, and I was escorted out and by people who were trying to help me, and they told me anything we could do to help, well, I didn't know how to deal with these feelings. I felt like a part of myself had died, so I just kept working. And what I did is the next week I was scheduled to perform in Galveston, Texas on a small tour, and I went, and what ended up happening was a very supernatural thing happening two parts of this story, and this is the first part. I was driving home one night after a show. It was a clear night. There was no rain, no thunder, nothing. And out of nowhere, and I'm telling you, out of nowhere, a gale force like wind come across the road and nearly blew my vehicle off the road.
Mm.
And I looked at my bandmate, and he looked at me and he said, "That was bizarre. It's a clear night." And I just blurted out without thinking. I said, "Well, that was the spirit of my brother saying goodbye."
I
Well,
believe
the
it.
next, yeah, and the next morning I woke up from this experience, and I started to write lyrics to a song that started out saying brothers should never end this way. But after fine tuning it and working with the producer and all that, we ended up coming up with 12 o'clock in Texas. And that's how the song was written. It was written in Texas on tour a week after my brother's death. And that's where the song comes from. If you listen to the song, it's really talking about the grief that comes with loss. But if you watch the music video, it's going to tell a story of two brothers going back as far as 1995 and where their development goes, and how when one brother is gone, the other brother has to live on. And it's almost, I'm using symbolism in this sobriety coin you will see in the video, because a lot of times people, you look at a sobriety coin as a message of hope and a message of achievement. But for me and my story with it with my brother, it's nothing more than a failed attempt at sobriety in a system that let him down.
Mm.
And that's why I'm twirling this coin all throughout the video. And that's why eventually, if you watch it, I don't want to give it all away, but the coin is thrown away and given back in a spiritual way. And that's to explain the story in full.
Yeah. Well, thank you for writing this song and sharing this personal struggle. And when I heard the song, and we're going to play a snippet in a moment, there's so many parts that resonated with me, and the listeners will hear in the snippet the line that you wrote where you say, "The rain inside me never goes away and leaves all of my memories falling down on me." And just beautiful, touching, and I know you have helped so many through this healing process of this song. Others relate and appreciate you. So having said that, I think it's really a good time, Will, to play the song snippet, 12 o'clock in Texas, so our listeners can hear.
Thank you.
A Texas wind is blowing, the clouds are moving in. I've been driving for hours, remembering where we've been. I'm miles and miles from nowhere, the moon has disappeared. There's a thunder in the distance, it reminds me you're not here. So I turn on the radio, searching for a song. The static's all that greets me, and I know I'm all alone. So I push on through the darkness, trying to stay awake. But this coffee that I'm drinking ain't strong enough to shake the rain inside of me. Never goes away and never leaves, and all my memories are falling down on me, 'cause it's 12 o'clock in Texas, but it's the dead of night for me.
Oh, I just love that song. It's so profound and touching in so many ways. And as you mentioned, Will, the video, and I watched it a few times, and I encourage everyone to look on YouTube and see that video because, Will, to me, it's a piece of art. It really is. And, there's a lot of significant moments, like you mentioned. And did you have a hand in the process of creating and filming it and bringing it, full circle along with the song?
I did. I'm a personal believer, and as an artist, I always write my own music video scripts, and I always write my own songs and compose my own songs. Sometimes I co-write with a producer or something, but most of the ideas, 99% of them, are all mine. And with 12 o'clock in Texas, I single-handedly not only wrote the script, but worked hand in hand with the director Jordan Fontenot, who I do need to give a shout out as a masterful director, an up-and-coming masterful director. And I spoke with him personally about timestamps on this song where I wanted certain parts of the video to land as the song was creating, because I let my heart do the speaking on this one. And when we filmed this video, not only did I write the script, but I was 100% hands on. And there are things about the video that the average, viewer not knowing the backstory do not know. Number one, to do the honest, I wanted to keep this as honest as I could, because I believe that if we keep it honest, it'll be relatable to the people around us, and maybe it will just help someone. And so I went back to the hotel where my brother overdosed for this video. But I could not film there because at least I just couldn't do it. It was just too much. So I did film in an alternate location for the video, but I found a room with a similar layout. And that's why in the video you see me performing in this hotel with the band to symbolize where he died. And in this video, when I was casting the characters for a younger version of me and my brother, I'm proud to say that I used me and my wife's own children. My stepchildren and her children played the role of me and my brother. So this is actually family playing the role of brothers from the past, and they did a wonderful job, if I may say so. They really listened to me talk about who me and my brother was, and I talked to them about, well, imagine you lost your brother, and put that into your performance in this video, and they did it very well. So to sum it up, I was very hands-on, not only in the writing of the script, but the locations, and I worked very personally with the director to come out with this video, because I wanted to keep it honest but relatable to the viewers.
Yes, congratulations on achieving that and sharing that personal perspective that you were behind the creation and planning of that whole entire scene, along with the director, of course. But it's so hard to switch gears, and I have 2 other song snippets I want to play, and that's not to minimize at all, the song 12 o'clock in Texas. So we're going to switch gears and talk about your collaboration with Florian Fox in the song Time's Catching Up to Me. And tell us a little bit about that song before I play a song snippet. What inspired you, and what's the story behind that song?
Well, there's a much more comical reason for this song and why it was written. Me and Florian Fox are dear friends. We met in 2020 and we began collaborating. And our first effort was Wasted Again, a classic country drinking song back years ago. And we just became very dear friends. And with this next single, Time's Catching Up to Me, it was written in Europe. I was on tour, and we had just played 7 sold out shows, and we were about on show 7. We were rounding up the tour, and I was exhausted, and they encored us that night, and we had to play an extra set to a very eager crowd, and it was fantastic. But I woke up the next morning and I felt like I got hit by a freight train. And I was where I was staying at the time was right across from Lake Zurich, and I would encourage anybody if they ever go to Europe, go see Lake Zurich. It's in Switzerland. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, beautiful. And I went and I sat down on this park bench, and my throat was gone. I'd done, I was hoarse. I mean, everything was just, ugh, And I wrote this song literally in 5 or 10 minutes. I just started strumming the guitar, and I started feeling like, man, I'm getting older, and the more I perform like a 20-year-old, time just seems to be catching up to me, and bam, there it came, and I wrote the song, and I passed it by Florian, and he said, we have to record this. So we recorded it, and it's been very good to us. We've been getting a lot of radio airplay all over the world with that one, so I'm very blessed on that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to just kind of segue right into snippet number 2, Will Wesley's Time's Catching Up to Me, featuring Florian Fox. Here we go.
I used to stay drunk all the time, drinking straight bourbon, whiskey, and wine. But lately I find I'm not the man I used to be. 'Cause when the room starts spinning around, what goes up is gonna come back down. And I've been playing the fool time after time. I used to run around town wasting money on the girls I'd meet. I didn't have a care, had the world at my feet. But when the money started running low, all my plans went up in smoke. 'Cause nobody gives a damn about the will till it's running dry. And I'm always moving, but I feel like I'm standing still. Another mountain to climb and one foot over the hill. And it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, and the truth's getting clear to see. I'm just another year older and time's catching up to me. I still remember those red.
I love that song, that rockabilly and blues, and you want to get up and dance, and it's great.
Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Yeah, we were trying to kind of go back to my blues rockabilly roots on that one, and it was really fun to actually go back to your roots and just kind of let loose and do a song. I know that rhythm and blues may not be, current top 40 country right now, but it did feel good to go back and just kind of go retro on that one.
Yeah, I bet. And I think you got, inspired to maybe let loose again when you wrote Honky Tonk USA, and the video. I mean, you're so good at it. You had that shot of comedy in the video, and I encourage everyone to look at that video on YouTube. So tell us about, what inspired you to write Honky Tonk USA, and, then take it, that extra mile and create such a great video that's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, Honky Tonk USA is a song that, when approached by the producer and other people who were recording my music, they were like, hey, maybe we should write a country pop song that will appeal to the generation. And, I sat down and really tried to do that. And what ended up happening instead is I wrote the most anti-pop country song could ever be written. And, the reason why that is because, look, I would never frown upon any music. I think a lot of the new music coming out is fantastic. But I'm saddened to see in country music that we have lost the storytellers. We have lost the classic artists like Merle Haggard, Chris Christopherson, which we just lost. This is a tragedy. Johnny Cash, all these wonderful, wonderful classic country artists, they're not being played on mainstream radio no more. And it's people haven't forgot about them, but they're just not being respected the way they should. And when I started to think about that in the writing of Honky Tonk USA, I wanted to kind of give a nod to that, the notion that, the songs of the South are just gone with the wind, and the outlaw is nothing but a name. There's no substance to the music. And I really want to see that come back in music. So I started writing an honest story about how these great artists that paved the way are being forgotten, and we need to cherish that. We need to embody that. And in the music video, once again, using my stepkids who worked in that one, we we really created a story. They kept asking me, well, how are you going to portray what you're saying in a music video? And the only way that I can come up with was a talent contest for like current country, up and comers. And it was just all you see these contestants worried about was their TikTok videos and all these things in a comical way. And it just came together that way. And once again, me and Jordan Fontenot, the director, got together and really tried to create a vision there. And it's been really good to us. I've been very excited to see the success we found with it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. And I think what I'm going to do is just close the show with that song. But before I do, I want to make sure that one, you give a shout out to your band members by name because they are featured in the videos and support you so much. So go ahead and let's give them a shout.
Oh, I would love to. First of all, on drums, we have the very talented. Well, we have two drummers in two videos here. My long-term drummer, Mr. Seth Jones, out in Austin, Texas, did a fantastic job. And we also have Brent Graham, who played drums in 12 O'Clock in Texas, who's a phenomenal drummer who plays with me as well. Chris Lesage on the bass guitar, and Eric Stewart also on the bass guitar, both of which work in my band. And Phil Chandler, the guitarist, and also my producer, was in both videos as well. So I want to give a shout out to all of those great musicians in the video. And I just can't thank them enough.
Well, great. And for our listeners and your fans, where can they find you on social media and online?
Well, you can't hide from me. I'm a little bit everywhere. You can find me at willwesleymusic.com is where you can find all of my music videos, tour dates, and photos. But you can also check me out on YouTube. I have a lot of interesting music videos if you like that. Just Will Wesley, and you'll find all my videos. And you can stream me anywhere. It doesn't matter. Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, and I would encourage everybody to please stream these tunes, 12 O'Clock in Texas, and things like that.
Well, wonderful. Again, Will, thank you for being on the podcast today. And I wish you all the success in the world. And I look forward to having you again back on Podcast Sister. And we're going to close the show and play Honky Tonk USA.